I'm so thrilled to have Ibitola Ukabam, the Associate Vice President of Energy Resources from Africa Finance Corporation. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
I'd just like to go straight into it. Africa's energy industry seems to still face significant challenges when it comes to limited investment. How is the AFC addressing this issue? And what specific strategies have you found to be the most effective in mobilizing capital for energy projects?
Thank you. Um, we are very committed to the energy industry at AFC, and that's because of the impact it will have on the sustainable growth of the continent. Industrialization is the way for Africa to sustain itself into the future. And our energy needs in going into that industrialization are quite significant, and we need sources that are reliable in the long term. In order to get adequate capital mobilized into the sector to get projects done, we have a strong focus on project bankability in the first instance. And in that phase, we are thinking about quite a number of different things, not just project technical parameters, but in an increasingly diverse financing environment, we need to attend to things such as the ESG credentials of projects. We need to be certain about risk management frameworks and parameters. We need to do our best with governance frameworks of the project companies as well. So we work closely with the clients that we interface with to make sure that all of these features are well primed so that they can be attractive to a good range of investor groups. Secondly, the kind of partnerships that we engage in order to bring financing into the sector are diverse, right? We see that different financial groups can play different roles in the projects that we do. So we are constantly working not only with DFIs, but also with commercial banks where we see them playing a strong role in providing working capital solutions, international trade finance solutions, guarantees, and the likes. We also work closely with commodity traders because they're actively interested in supporting the sector as well. And then we do these financings by bringing everybody around the table and collaborating, and it works. Finally, I would say that we take our credentials as a technically competent institution with very clear sight on sustainability. We take that very seriously, and we leverage it to attract capital into the sector.
That's fantastic. And just hearing you speak, I just realized that in recent months, you have strengthened your cooperation with global financial institutions, such as the Saudi EXIM Bank, with BADEA, as well as the Middle Eastern investors. What impact will these partnerships have on the AFC's capacity to finance African projects? And how will they support the organization's mission to develop the energy sector?
Through these partnerships, on one hand, we are mobilizing funding into the sector. So we're creating more capacity to finance projects and make them happen. And that is working well. But more so, in the course of working through these partnerships, we get to provide a lot of information about what AFC is doing, the kind of impact we're making, the kind of projects we are driving. And the information goes beyond just the partners, but it's also then available to different groups within the markets that we hope to tap capital from. And that is essentially how you sometimes bring down some of the barriers that you experience in terms of access to financing for the sector. The perceived risks of Africa are often because there isn't enough information out there about how the risks are being managed, how the risks are being delineated into pockets, right? And so when we have these partnerships and we communicate with the international markets, we're able to ensure that information is dissipating into the right quarters about what we're doing. There is also the opportunity that we get to tap into expertise, both technical and ESG sustainability related expertise from the Middle East, from all of these areas that we are tapping into. And that all comes together to continue to strengthen how we are able to work towards our objectives of supporting the energy sector in Africa.
And just looking at your experience, which which areas in the energy sector require the most investment? And how is the AFC prioritizing that to address these needs?
Right. So, gas development is one critical part. We have a lot of gas resources in the continent, but we need to develop our gas resources and also the processing capacity for gas so that we can channel those gas resources into usable gas that supports energy demand and can drive both industrial uses and domestic energy demand. The advantage to gain there is not only the availability of energy to drive economic activity, there's also the advantage of replacing emission-heavy fuel sources, both in domestic use, where there's a lot of use of biofuels in many parts of Africa, and even in industrial use, where some of the elements of power supply are still based on heavy fuel oil or diesel. And another part that we need to critically focus on is renewable energy, indeed. Because just like the gas, we also have lots of resources when you think about solar or think about wind. And we need to harness those resources and bring them into the energy value chain. Finally, it will be infrastructure. For all of these things that we describe, if we are not able to very quickly create the infrastructure that connects the resources to the users, then we may end up only thinking about our development of resources from an export angle. But indeed, we need to focus on the internal energy demands of Africa. Why? Globally, energy demand is growing, but we see that statistics put forward that about 85% of the energy demand growth is going to come from outside the developed economies, and Africa is going to be the chief of that contribution to the growth of demand. So we need to connect the resources back inwards, and that's going to require a lot of infrastructure, both in terms of transportation of the raw resource through pipelines, through any other means, to the infrastructure for refining, for gas processing, and for treating gas into different classes and delivering them to the users, whether industrial or domestic. So these are three areas that we should critically focus on in terms of investment in the energy space.
And the theme of this year's AEW is Invest in African Energy. What are the AFC's main objectives at this year's event? And how do you see AEW helping to shape the future of Africa's energy sector?
So indeed, the Africa Energy Week strongly brings together a group of government representatives, investors, and energy industry players. It's the right mix of parties when we need to discuss the key themes to go forward with. And for AFC, we come to the African Energy Week to promote such cross group discussions so that we can together think and brainstorm about how we need to drive capital inflow into the sector to make African energy thrive and achieve the objectives that we need to achieve in terms of energy security and industrialization. So we are constantly tapping into those conversations and trying to drive collaboration amongst these different parties and strategic partnerships. We promote quite a lot of strategic partnerships because this we will need indeed to drive a lot of the kinds of investments that we need on the continent. We are also here to promote the ways and themes that we invest. So we as a multilateral finance institution, we are impact focused, development impact focused, but also we are thinking largely about the economic development of the continent. And so we invest in ways that unlock risk and also drive advancement of projects and investments, where we're typically investing across all of the chain of investment types. We do debt investments, mezzanine investments, equity investments, and so we come here to also promote the themes that we are seeing that are relevant to the sector, and ensure that we can continue to collaborate with our partners and other parties in the industry. I believe that the African Energy Week will continue to play that role of giving us a very valid moment every year to come and strategize together and build partnerships, and then drive on into the next year and get things done.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's great
Thank
to
you
see
very
you
much.
again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.